My name is Elena. I am from Cyprus. I am 38 years old. And this is the story of how I lost my heart, my trust, and 10,000 euros to the man I thought I was going to marry. I never imagined I would tell this story publicly. For a long time, I was ashamed. I blamed myself every single day. I asked myself questions that kept me awake at night. How could I be so blind? How could love make me so weak? But maybe somebody out there needs to hear this. Maybe another woman is about to make the same mistake I made. Before I met him, my life was simple. I worked in a small beauty salon in Nicosia. My marriage had ended years earlier. I lived alone in a small apartment with my cat. Most days were quiet. Go to work, come home, cook dinner, sleep, repeat. People think loneliness is dramatic. They imagine someone crying every night. But real loneliness is quieter than that. It becomes routine. You get used to eating alone. You get used to silence in the house. You get used to nobody asking how your day was. And the older you become as a woman, the more invisible you start to feel. Friends get busy with their families. Children grow up. Everyone moves forward while you stay in the same place. One evening after work, I was scrolling on my phone. I saw an advertisement for an online dating application. I laughed at first because I never ever imagined I would use something like that. But that night I felt especially alone, so I downloaded it. That decision changed my life forever. At first, it was just random conversations. Some rude, some fake, some boring. Then one day, I received a message from a young African man from Nigeria. His name was Daniel. He was 28, much younger than me. I almost ignored the message. I thought he was probably joking or trying to play games. But his message was respectful. He said my smile looked kind. Nobody had called me kind in a very long time. We started talking every day. At first, it was just small conversations. Good morning messages. Questions about food, music, culture. He told me about growing up in Nigeria. He said life there was hard sometimes, but he dreamed of building a better future. He was funny, very funny. He always knew how to make me laugh after difficult days at work. Slowly, I started waiting for his messages. My mornings began with him. My nights ended with him. I know what I was foolish, desperate, naive, but when someone speaks to your loneliness every day, you stop thinking logically. You only feel. After months of talking online, he told me he had moved to Cyprus for work. I was shocked. I thought maybe it was destiny. The first time we met in person was at a cafe near the city center. I remember being nervous like a teenage girl. I spent almost 2 hours choosing clothes. We walked in. He smiled exactly the same way he smiled in his photos. Warm, confident. He hugged me gently and said, "You are even more beautiful in real life." And I believed every word. From that day, everything moved quickly. We started spending time together almost every weekend. We went to restaurants, beaches, little road trips around Cyprus. He held my hand in public. He kissed my forehead. He made me feel loved again. I introduced him to my friends. Some of them warned me. They told me to be careful. They said he was younger. They said maybe he wanted papers or money. But I defended him every single time. I said they were judging him because he was African. I thought I was protecting the man I loved. Love can make you defend the very person destroying you. One year passed. 1 full year. He became part of my life completely. He had clothes in my apartment. We cooked together. We watched movies together. Sometimes he spoke about the future, marriage, traveling together. Sometimes he spoke about the future, marriage, traveling together, building a family. And because I had already experienced heartbreak before, those promises meant everything to me. One night, he came home looking stressed. I asked him what happened. And he said his family back in Nigeria was facing serious problems. He told me his mother was sick. He said his younger brother had an accident. He said the family was drowning in debt and needed help urgently. At first, I comforted him, told him things would be okay. But then he looked at me with tears in his eyes and asked for help. He asked me for 10,000 euros. I had saved it over many years. It was supposed to help me buy a better apartment someday. But he looked broken. He cried in front of me. He held my hands and promised me he would repay every cent. He said, "You are my family now. I will never betray you. And I believed him. I went to the bank 2 days later. The lady at the bank even asked me if I was sure, because it was a large withdrawal. I smiled and told her it was for someone important. That evening, I gave him the money. He hugged me tightly. He kissed my forehead and thanked me over and over again. He promised that once things settled down, he would pay me back. That was the last peaceful night of my life. The next morning, his phone was off. At first, I thought maybe his battery died. Then hours passed, and a full day. I texted him again and again, no answer. I called over 50 times. Nothing. At the second day, panic started entering my chest. I went to his apartment, but the landlord told me he had already left. I remember standing outside that building, feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath me. I still tried to believe there was an explanation. Maybe an emergency. Maybe something happened. But deep inside, I already knew. For weeks, I searched everywhere. Went to places we used to visit together, restaurants, bars, African shops, bus stations, everywhere. I slept, I barely ate. Every time my phone rang, my heart jumped. But it was never him. One day, while walking near a small African grocery store, I met a Nigerian girl named Adhey. She recognized his picture immediately. She looked uncomfortable the moment she saw it. I begged her to tell me the truth. At first, she avoided my questions, but eventually she sighed and said something I will never forget. Sister, he already went back to Nigeria. He is not come back. I felt something inside me break forever. I remember sitting on the sidewalk crying while people walked past me. I could not breathe properly. The man I loved, the man I trusted with my heart, disappeared the moment he got what he wanted. And the worst part was not even the money. It was realizing that maybe none of it was real. Every memory suddenly became painful. Every smile, every promise. I started questioning everything. Was I just a target from the beginning? Did he laugh at me with other people? These thoughts destroyed me mentally. For months, I became depressed. I stopped going out, stopped answering friends. I cried while looking at old photos of us. Sometimes I still opened our old messages just to torture myself with memories. He used to call me my future wife. And I believed him like a fool. The financial loss was terrible too. 10,000 euros may not sound life-changing to some people, but for me it was years of hard work. I had to cancel plans. I struggled with rent for months. I worked extra hours at the salon. But emotional pain was worse than financial. Because when someone steals money, you can recover slowly. But when someone steals trust, it changes how you see the world. After what happened, I became suspicious of everyone. If someone showed kindness, I questioned their motive. I hated the person I became. I also faced embarrassment. People who warned me before saying things like, "We told you so." Some have blamed his nationality, some blamed my age, some blamed online dating. But the truth is, manipulation has no nationality. There are good and bad people everywhere in the world. I met wonderful Nigerians after that experience too. Honest people, caring people. So this story is not attacking a country or a race. It is perception. It is about loneliness. It is about how emotional vulnerability can blind someone completely. You know, something strange. For months after he disappeared, I still hoped he would come back. I imagined hearing a knock on my door. I imagined him apologizing. I imagined him returning the money. But none of that happened. He vanished completely. No goodbye, no explanation, no remorse. Just silence. One night, I sat alone in my apartment looking at our old photos. Beach pictures, restaurant selfies, smiling faces. And suddenly I realized something painful. And even if his love was fake, my love was real. I truly loved him. That is why it hurt so much. You cannot fake heartbreak like this. You cannot fake sleepless nights. You cannot fake the feeling of betrayal. It took me almost 2 years to begin healing. 2 years. I started therapy eventually. I forced myself to reconnect with friends. I traveled alone for the first time. I learned slowly that my life did not end because one man betrayed me. But scars remain. Even today, I still become nervous when people ask me for money. I still struggle with trust. And sometimes I wonder whether he ever thinks about what he did to me. Does he remember my kindness? Does he remember the woman who believed in him when nobody else did? Or was I just another victim in a long line of victims? I may never know. But one thing I do know is this. Loneliness can make people ignore warning signs. When your heart is starving for love, even small attention feels magical. And there are people in this world who know exactly how to use that. If you are listening to me right now, please protect your heart. Love carefully. Trust slowly. And never let emotions silence your common sense. If somebody truly loves you, they will never manipulate your kindness. They will never disappear after seeking help. They will never make you feel ashamed for loving them. For a long time, I hated myself for this story. But now I understand something important. Being deceived does not make you stupid. It means you are genuine in a world where some people only know how to pretend. And despite everything, I still hope one day I will find real love. Not because I am weak, but because I refuse to let betrayal turn my heart into stone. If Daniel ever watches this, I hope one day you understand the damage you left behind. Not just in my bank account, Daniel, but in my soul.